Students downed their books today to sample the university's unique culture. Around 40 different cultures are represented on campus. The Cultural Awakening Festival was first held in 1994. It's now garnered itself a national reputation, attracting performers and media interest from across Australia. Organiser Flora McCann says it's a great way to bring different students together.
I hope to achieve social and spiritual enlightenment to everybody involved, including the university and the people in the community.
The festival is also unique amongst universities in Australia.
This is the first university to do this cultural awakening, the first university to promote this cultural multiculturalism through the cultural awakening.
For the first time, the festival has incorporated schools and community groups from across Newcastle. The Cultural Awakening culminates on Friday with a food festival.
With the Crown case completed, Moses too today told the jury what happened in September last year in this Kings Road house. Several people were watching the video once were warriors, but Moses too says he wasn't paying much attention. He was talking to a friend and drinking bourbon. Moses too remembers having a conversation with Stephen Kennedy that day about tattoos. He does not remember having a fight. He says his next recollection is getting up off the couch, seeing blood and seeing someone slumped over. Crown witness Sharon Davis, who went out with the victim Stephen Kennedy last week, told how her boyfriend was stabbed when he came to help her. She claimed Tu tried to have sex with her, but Moses too denied trying to rape her and denied putting a knife to her throat. In a police interview played to the court, Tu said the claim of attempted rape was probably her way of trying to get back at me for, I don't know, for what happened to her boyfriend. Tu said he was an alcoholic at the time of Mr. Kennedy's death and avoided public places because when he drank he became violent. When asked by his counsel, is this what happened with Stephen Kennedy, Moses too replied, no, it was nothing like that at all. The trial continues tomorrow.
We think that this end of town does need a bit of brightening up, and the reaction of our tenants has been very good, and they're certainly hoping that it'll bring more business to the area.
Long faces were the order of the day. At the Knights team meeting this afternoon, the expression said it all as the team came to the realisation 96 is all but over. Only a major disaster for the other Optus Cup teams will give Newcastle a chance of playing in this year's final series. It's a situation Malcolm really understands all too well. Looking back, it's not hard to point the finger.
But at the end of the day, we're making the same mistake over and over again, and that's making mistakes.
Discipline cost Newcastle penalties on 2 crucial occasions last night, but really thinks there's more behind the loss. Refusing to lie down, the Knights have named an unchanged team to tackle the Roosters on Sunday. The only concern's a shoulder injury to Brad Godden and an ongoing foot complaint for Glenn Grief, while the Chief has an appetite.
There's still a real hunger there to make sure we play well and finish off the way we should finish off.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
Workers were called off part of the Cardiff Workers Club extensions after union claims that the builder Strait had made the job unsafe.
He had no concern for the safety and welfare of the workers or the general public.
Demolition work has stirred up a real mess. Stronach say that claims of asbestos on the site are wrong, but admit synthetic mineral fibres like those found in ceiling insulation are on the job.
I'm not an expert I'm not a doctor, so I can't say it's a risk or not, but it's a very common thing to have fiberglass insulation or mineral fibres on building sites.
The WorkCover Authority says there are health concerns and has issued a number of enforcement notices to clean up the site. The $2.5 million expansion will give the club new bars, another kitchen and bistro. Petitions have been put up to keep dust away from patrons and staff. The club claims there are no health risks. While some work was held up, it's expected with changes put in place today, workers will be back tomorrow. The unions say they're clamping down on unsafe work sites. 2 other jobs were inspected at Port Stephens today, and there'll be more to come.
The building unions have called for a clean-up in the Newcastle district area.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The Charlton family has long ruled the indoor halls of snooker and pool rooms, first Eddie, now Edward. The 42-year-old is only the 3rd Australian to tackle the 9-ball World Championships. Last year he was knocked out of the tournament in China, now he's off to Sweden.
It was very enjoyable, and I said then I'd like to have a crack at the second one, which is this year in Sweden, so we're getting organised to go there.
After last year's disappointment, Charlton has prepared himself for everything. This time around he's ready for the blocked pocket. That shot when the ball comes to rest in the most ridiculous place. And even that impossible snooker, perhaps with a bit of assistance. But on a serious note, the World Championships will signal the start of a long-term campaign. 9-ball will be introduced to the Olympics from 2004. And will he be there?
I would like to be there, I might go and watch.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
At a Great Lakes Council meeting today, CIM Resources was confident it had addressed all concerns over its proposed coal mine at Girali. The Johnsons Creek Conservation Committee had strongly objected to the original plan, which involved dirty water being discharged into Johnsons Creek. CIM Resources, which currently operates the Stratford coal mine, presented a revised water management strategy to Council, saying the surplus water would now be used for irrigation on neighbouring land and not emptied into the creek. But local residents say the runoff from irrigation would still contaminate the pristine creek, which flows into Port Stephens, thereby jeopardising the farming, fishing and tourism industries.
It's actually been discussed by the Hunter Water Corporation as an alternative water catchment for Newcastle. So if it gets polluted, well, they probably wouldn't be looking at using it for alternative water for Newcastle.
In a surprise move, CIM Resources has also decided to call a commission of inquiry in what it believes will help streamline the processing of the development application when it is submitted to Council next month.
There are no coal mines in Great Lakes Shire, and Council doesn't have the resources or the staff to do the thorough analysis on a proposal like this.
If a commission of inquiry goes ahead, it will require a 30-day submission period. Council has taken that on board, deciding to cut its exhibition period from 60 to 30 days if a commission of inquiry eventuates. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Fourteen-year-old Melissa Dowes has missed out on quite a few parties and barbecues in recent years. Now it seems that sacrifice is paying off. She's been chosen to compete against the world's best teams in the World Junior Tennis Final, to be held in Japan later this month. News that she's simply taken in her stride.
I was just excited.
Melissa has only been playing for 5 years, but so far she's displaying the courage and commitment that will take her a long way. She's just returned from a European tour and has already resumed a gruelling training schedule, practicing for hours every day and travelling to Sydney 3 times a week for coaching. Her strategy is simple.
I just go out there and play, I guess.
The facades of old buildings will stand while developers move on to other parts of the civic site.
It's been happening for 30 years and I've been involved in it for 4 or 5 years, and the whole design to actually starting to dig up the ground and pull things down has taken 5 years.
Demolition of the old City Motel and shops along Hunter and Derby Street will begin in October to make way for the Telstra building. The council is in the process of buying the Westpac building at the other end of the block. It will come down for a plaza bordered by the Civic Theatre. The overall plan is to see the old Frederick Ash building restored, along with Morpeth House, the Bennett building and part of the Clarendon Hotel. A larger office building is planned near the council administration building.
I think it shows confidence on the part of the council. It shows leadership that we believe that we can change the centre of Newcastle into where it needs to be in the 21st century.
Andrew Lobb, NBN News. For many, collecting pippies is a time-honoured tradition. You'll see them twisting in the sand, their toes turning up the small shellfish, most often used as bait for fishing.
A little bit of fishing hopefully today. A couple of pippies for bait, but it's hard work.
Have you ever eaten them?
No, I haven't. I believe they can be eaten though.
But for others, pippies are a delicacy as well as a dollar spinner. Fisheries has imposed a limit of 50 pippies per person per day to be taken from the beach, but poachers have been caught with as many as 9,000. The shellfish sell from 80 cents to $5 a kilo.
There have been 142 occurrences on this beach where people have got $300 on-the-spot fines for having more than 50 pippies.
The Department of Fisheries claims people of Asian origin have attracted most of the fines while collecting pippies for food and for sale in restaurants. Fisheries officers patrol the beach. Pippi poachers are priority.
Most of these people have come from Sydney. A lot of them have come from non-English speaking background. I've asked all my parliamentary colleagues to assist me in educating people. We're putting out pamphlets in 14 different languages, but it is important that all people know that only 50 pippies can be taken.
An 8-year dream turned into reality today with work officially underway on the Scone site. The research unit is the nerve centre of an equestrian playground adjacent to Scone Racecourse and next to Australia's largest thoroughbred population. When finished, the centre will house laboratories providing research into all horses from thoroughbred to stock. The centre's backers say it's a sorely needed facility to improve on current Australian research.
But it's been done out of backyards and in very poor facilities. This will be world-class facilities. There'll be nothing better than this as a research centre in the world.
Not only will Australia be a benefactor from the new technology, Asia is also expected to import the equine research.
The Asian market is really expanding at the moment. Taiwan's going to come on stream, the Philippines, China of course is around the corner. They'll be on stream within 5 years or so.
The Equine Research Centre is due for completion in April next year. The month-long visit to various education institutions in Australia is giving the visitors a chance to cement mutual understanding between the countries. When they return to home, the Deans hope to create a human resource plan aimed at developing pre-service and in-service teacher education.
Well, basically we are here in Australia for 1 month to do workshop, a short course workshop at the Faculty of Education at the University of New South Wales.
A spokesman for the Deans stated he was impressed with the concept of a school parliament run by the Cardiff North students.
They have a chance and opportunity to learn more about democratic way of life and especially learning democracy in school. This is good. And
Newcastle University funds 2NURFM to the tune of $250,000 a year. However, that could be about to end. It's believed the University Savings Task Force has been told the station's budget will have to be slashed as a result of federal cuts to education. But 2NUR is downplaying the budget reduction. Management says any cuts will be gradual and negotiated with the university.
But the university's nurtured this place for 18 years, and I don't think it's going to cut it off just like that.
The station has played an integral role in the Newcastle community for 18 years, much of its money coming from public donations. Mr Steele says if funds are withdrawn completely, the station can still pay its own way.
It's not going to be easy for us to pay our own way, of course, it never is. But we do have that capability, and if we have that capability, then I believe that we should play our part.
The station has submitted a report to the University's Savings Task Force. Staff will now sit back and wait for a decision. Blake Doyle, NBN News. Lambton High drew first blood, but Farrer High hit back 20 minutes into the game with this effort from Mark Hardy. It was to be the first of 3 tries in the first half for Hardy, the centre crashing over for his hat-trick. Farrer's forwards dominated centre play, tearing through some light Lambton defence. Lambton allowed the opposition to stand and offload in tackles. A try to Farrer's Michael Steiger, putting the Tamworth boys ahead 18-4. Lambton failed to regroup early in the second half, allowing Farrer a 24-point buffer. The local boys rallied late in the game but couldn't make up the difference. Farrer now plays Sydney's Kingsgrove High in the semi-final.
The Newcastle Regional Chamber of Commerce has filled out its small King Street building over the last 20 years, and directors have decided it's time to move. After singing the praises of the city and its possibilities for business, the Chamber now finds itself a little hard-pressed to find adequate accommodation of its own.
We're looking at fairly high quality office space, and I think that is one thing that we don't have a lot of at the present time.
Meanwhile, in the wake of the reintroduction of city parking meters, the Chamber is keeping a watchful eye on how business is being affected.
Meters, by their very nature, don't attract people simply because that they get a bit worried whether in fact they've got enough money to put in the meters and whether in fact they'll be back before the time limit has expired. And I think that's the real worry about it, but hopefully it's basically going back into an education process to tell people what the meters are, how they operate, and perhaps to attract people back into the city.
Souths were humbled by the Seagulls at Carl Oval last weekend. The 35-10 loss forced the side into do-or-die matches from here on in.
Well, if we don't win tomorrow, that's it. We're on a fishing trip, so we're pretty keen to win the game, yeah.
The Player of the Year himself will be the key to the Lions' chances tomorrow. Last week he was shut down by the Seagulls, and the Bulldogs have promised similar treatment.
Yeah, definitely the key. He leads them around the park pretty well, but they got a good strong pack of forwards, which forwards always win semi-finals.
The winner meets the loser of tonight's major semi-final next week. The business end of the season also in the NBN Soccer League, Highfields play Hamilton. The winner is through to the grand final, the Wolves the favourites, after last week's 4-1 victory over Deloraine. A big weekend for the Adamstown Rosebuds, tonight hosting Leichhardt, while on Sunday it's an away game against Warringah. Rugby Union in Newcastle is out to put a halt to Manly's charge at the AAMI Cup finals tomorrow. The Wildfires more than held their own last weekend against flag favourites Warringah and plan to use their good spoiling tactics again.
One man that we've got to watch is Willie off in Ngawi. Backy's playing good football. Manly have won their last 3 games, but I think we're very confident and will cause an upset.
And in softball, round 3 this weekend of the State League, the women play the Power Raiders and the men meet the Panthers. Jonathan Upton, NBN News. Poetic King just got there. It paid $10.40 and $2.90. The places $2.50 and $2.70. The Quinella $35.10 and the trifecta upwards of $237. Now back to race 4 where a class field of 3-year-old colts and geldings ran the Mitchell Mackenzie Stakes. Blazing Reality paid $6.80 and $2 even, $1.80 and $4, the Quinella $12.10 and the Trifecta $389.20. At Rosehill Gardens, the $75,000 Premier Stakes was the feature event, run over 1,200 metres. Legal Agent on top, it paid $9.50 and $2.30. A dead heat for the minor placings, the 2 and 1 Quinella $5.70, the 2 and 12 Quinella $11.30, and both trifectas paid more than $60. Newcastle has been flying high all season. The team has led the Inter-District League from start to finish, and on Saturday it's the grand final.
They've been very consistent this year, which has been very good, very pleasing.
It's been a low-key preparation, the team a mix of youth and experience. A week off and everything is shaping up well for the trip to Sydney. The Flyers will play Ku-ring-gai, the big movers in the competition. They knocked Charlestown out of the league 3 weeks ago and are turning into the surprise packet.
They've come from 5th in the last round to 4th, and they've knocked off 3rd and 2nd, and we haven't seen them since the second game of the second round.
Despite that, the Flyers will enter the match favourites after their faultless efforts during the season. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
Like the biscuits they produce, the women in Dinkum Assorted show there is a sweet and a sour side to work and life in a small country town, especially during wartime. With their men away at war, the women in the tiny town of Warrabananga are working hard to keep the local biscuit factory afloat. In their spare time, they are rehearsing a concert for the Yankee soldiers camped outside town and learning air raid drills.
Now an air raid if it came and tapped on the shoulder. Grace, you sure we're supposed to do all this? Said in the book this is what the kiddies do, not air raid wardens.
Although the town's young women crave adventure and freedom, the arrival of a beautiful and mysterious stranger with a troubled past sets everybody's curiosity on fire. Starring 14 women between 17 and 70 and directed by Shirley Bloomfield, Dinkum Assorted opens tonight at the Devita Street Theatre and runs until September 14th.
Residents of some Waratah streets are fed up. The noise of coal trains is sending them off the rails.
I've just about had enough. I'm thinking of moving, selling up and moving. I can't take much more of it.
It's a constant problem for everyone close to the line. All they want is a bit of peace.
And when there's a rail strike on, oh, it's heaven.
Today, Freight Rail launched a $5 million program to cut back noise and vibration problems. Locos and coal wagons are to be modified, track conditions improved, and train drivers are going through special education on keeping the noise down in residential areas.
People expect, generally, that their environment will continue to improve, and therefore if we're talking about train noise, that'll continue to be improved and reduced, and that's what we're about addressing.
Residents are hopeful the new measures will pay off, but they're not celebrating yet. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The crash just after 4 this afternoon threw traffic into chaos and stretched emergency services to the limit. It's believed a westbound semi-trailer carrying bales of wire crossed to the wrong side of the road, colliding with a station wagon and a four-wheel drive utility heading in the opposite direction. The truck then cut through a safety railing and crashed down an embankment. The male driver of the unrecognisable ute and a woman driving the station wagon both died trapped in the wrecked vehicles. The driver of the semi was taken to Maitland Hospital with minor injuries. Traffic is being diverted around the crash scene via farm roads.
In Newcastle for a business function, former Olympic runner and Vice President of the International Olympic Committee, Kevin Gosper, says Australia can learn much from the Atlanta Olympics.
There was big pressure on Atlanta with people coming in, nearly 3 million visitors, pressure on the logistics, pressure on transportation, even on the demands of technology and security. So we watched all that very closely and we'll build on that experience.
Mr Gosper says Sydney's preparations aren't on track so far, but says the next 4 years will go quickly. He also says the Olympics will inject billions of dollars into the Australian economy, money small New South Wales cities and towns can also have a share in.
Well, we've calculated the benefit overall to Australia will be in the order of $7 billion GDP, and we would think that at least half of that will stay in New South Wales. So that means that Newcastle, a city as forward-thinking and as prepared to take opportunities as Newcastle is, should take a good share of that.
Anywhere in Australia. Cattle donated by Murray Tyrrell, Kevin Frost. Good guy, Fox Leeds, Warwick Lawrence.
It's a long way from a small sales office with 5 employees. Crone has grown to a $50 million company which manufactures and supplies products for information technology and telecommunications. Today, Premier Bob Carr opened the new office and warehouse extension, a project he claims is another milestone in winning more jobs for the Central Coast.
Because with this expansion, this company can expect its 250-strong workforce to increase by up to 30% over the next 2 years.
Crone says the new facilities will enable them to double their capacity and meet the demand of Asian markets. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.